Venice, originally built as a refuge for the locals fleeing the rampaging invaders from the east. Today it struggles to keep out the hordes of tourists and pigeons that congregate in St Mark's Square. And now Speedway riders. Northeastern Italy is the destination for the penultimate round of the World Championship, and a trip to the Queen of the Adriatic was the first port of call for many of our travelling band of men. The City of Light has been an inspiration to many artisans and masters of craft through the ages who've stopped off on their grand European tour to develop their skills and technique. Points gaps down to 26 after the Australians scored only 12 in Slovenia, failing to make it past the semi-finals. And since then, things have gone from bad to worse for the championship leader, who arrives in Italy sporting a severely damaged left bicep. He picked up the injury whilst riding in the British Elite League match, which took place just after the last GP. A tangle in turn one saw his arm get caught between the rear wheel and mudguard of Troy Batchelor. Suffering a friction burn, a very similar injury to that sustained by Nicky Pedersen earlier in the year, this has left him in considerable pain. It was clear to all watching practice Crump was crocked. He only managed a few laps before calling it a day. He left uncertain whether he would even compete in the event, and obviously unavailable for comment with his third world title charge lying in the balance.
I just checked him out, you know, he said it's obviously painful, you know, it's not perfect. It was really difficult for him, but he's just got to make a couple of starts, get a few points in the bag, I think.
For nearly all the GP regulars, it's their first time they've visited the Terenzano track. So what do experienced riders like Lee Adams make of it?
It's very similar to a Gothenburg or something like that, you know. Gothenburg's probably got a little bit more banking, but it's a big track, you know. The straights are just enormous, you know, like a jogging track. It's going to be a tough one because you tend to come off the fence, clip the curb, and then the corners really widen up, you know, so you've got a lot of room. If you do a passing move, it's going to have to be precise. But then again, you know, you can line a pass up off the corners and you've got such long straights to make it happen. So it should be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to competing in the 2010 Grand Prix Series are a trio of riders who qualified after riding to success in the 2009 Grand Prix Challenge event at Coventry. Jarek Hampel finished third on the evening to delight the Polish fans. He booked his return to full-time GP duty after losing his place in 2007. He'll be joined by Australian sensation Chris Holder, who finished second to Sweden's Magnus Zetterström. The 37-year-old, also known as Zorro, scored the same amount of points as Holder, despite hitting the floor twice in heat number 12. He later went on to win that heat and forced a run-off the top spot. Making the Grand Prix Series means the world, whether you're in the twilight or early stages of your Speedway career. A fairy tale victory for the Swedish showman.
Like I said, it's a dream that has come true. I actually thought it's just going to stay like a dream goal, but here I am, and I'm in the Grand Prix 2010. So, you know, it's just now to come back home and sit down and talk lots of things through and find out what needs to be changed into the Grand Prix for me.
It was a disappointing evening in front of the home fans for current GP rider Chris Harris. He took a tumble, and despite winning his last two races, he didn't make the cut. It was also a poor evening's work for Greg Valacek, who limped out after 3 rides. Frustration was also on the faces of Kenneth Bier and Freddie Lindgren, who have to rely on this year's GP performances to book their place for 2010.
Yeah, I would like to qualify through the challenge, but didn't go my way. So we're here in the Grand Prix, want to finish in the top 8 now. It's tough. I mean, it's very close on points, down to 9. So I really need two good rounds here in Italy and later in Bydgoszcz.
The main thing for me this year was the Grand Prix. I just had a challenge just for the backup if I weren't in the top 8. But so far I'm in the top 8, but there's still 2 more rounds to go, and just have to go out and make some starts and win some races, and hopefully it'll be all right.
It's too close for comfort in the battle to stay in the top 8. Just a 5-point gap between Bier and fellow Dane Nicky Pedersen. Rune Holter sits just outside in 9th and has a 7-point lead over Hans Andersen. Back-to-back second places mean he's on a roll, just when it matters most.
It's been really good. 2 second places is a good result, and yeah, we just have to work hard in the next 2 Grand Prix and see if we are good enough for the 8th position. It's not any big changes, it's just the small few details we changed on the bike, and I changed my technique a little bit. I know it's working.
Being in Italy, it was appropriate that the riders made a stylish entrance. Ducatis with the order of the day, as the competitors were introduced to the fanatical Italians. Every picture told a story, and the body language between the current man on form Emil Sayfutdinov and series leader Jason Crump said it all. One man on a mission, and one staring into the face of adversity. Heat 1 got underway, and it was a tapes-to-flag win for Chris Harris. He had a point to prove to the organisers with next year in mind. The restarted Heat 2 saw Thomas Gollum cruise to his first 3 points of the night, followed by Lindgren, another one out to impress. Crump's pit crew nervously watched on as their man lined up for Heat 3. Would he be able to step up to the plate riding through the pain barrier? But it was Hans Andersen who took up the running into turn 2, followed by Greg Hancock. But the American made a mistake going into turn 3, which gifted Crump a vital second place and 2 precious points towards his World Championship challenge. But Jason was obviously in agony, joined by his wife Mel with a bit of TLC and a massage for his seriously damaged left arm and wrist. But nothing could stop him casting an eye towards Heat 4, with his closest rival Sayfutdinov taking to the shale. Things were looking good for Jason as Emil made a hash of the start and was at the back, but not for long as the Russian sensation cruised into second past Ulemek and Bier. And just to rub salt into Crump's wounds, he then dispensed with outgoing world champion Nicky Pedersen to score maximum 3 points. Kenneth Bier, meanwhile, broke down on the last lap. For Emil, he went back and prayed for more glory. Sebastian Ulemek wasn't paying attention to the start of Heat 5 in red, leaving Chris Harris to take an early lead. But Rune Holter, desperate for points to gain ground on the top 8, came through to grab an impressive victory. His first points on the scoreboard, and all smiles back in the pits for the Norwegian-born Polish international. Jason lined up for his second ride of the evening in Heat 6, and in a role reversal it was Sayfutdinov watching on nervously. Kenneth Bier hit the front as Crump clearly ran out of steam coming out of turn 2 and down the back straight. A race too far for Crump, perhaps, as Bier went on to pick up his first 3 points of the night, just like Holter in the previous race. Trying hard to hide the agony back in the pits, surely now Crump was questioning whether he could carry on. Heat 7 saw Nicky Pedersen take an early lead, but in a carbon copy of Slovenia, he lost control. And this time managed to avoid Thomas Gollum. The Pole looked back in disbelief as he took up the running, whilst the Dane was left wondering how it all happened. A smash and grab raid from Gollum. Out in yellow for his second ride, Sayfutdinov cut across Greg Hancock and Gregor Valacek to cruise home to a vital victory. The Russian turning up the heat at the top of the table. So after 8 heats, the teenager shares the lead with a man almost 20 years older than him, Thomas Gollum. Hans Andersen needs a fine performance to bolster his hopes for next year. Jason Crump, 2 points from 2 rides. Is that enough to stop the new sensation, Sam?
Here we go, Heat 9. ML's looking pretty positive out there and coming out of Gate 2. It's not a bad place to be, Nige.
Well, unbeaten so far, Sam, isn't he? On 6 points out of 6. The wild card, Guglielmo Franchetti, is off the inside in red. Sayfutdinov off Gate 2 in blue. Chris Harris, 5 points so far for the Great Britain rider off 3. And Hans Andersen going off the outside in yellow. Jason Crump still in agony and deep concern in between the races for him. He is hoping for as long a gap as possible. He doesn't mind how long it takes these boys to get this race finished. Jason Crump wants time in between the action. Heat number 9 it is. Can Sayfutdinov make it 3 wins out of 3? But what a start from Hans Andersen. He sweeps across his rivals from the outside gate. Sayfutdinov in second spot right now. Chris Harris third, but not for long. Franchetti is putting him under severe pressure for third. Hans Andersen looking good though. He's got the race under control, but you can be sure that Sayfutdinov will wind it all on for 4 laps.
Yeah, Sayfutdinov is taking some really wide lines, trying to get his wheels in line. Just comes off and bumps right in the back of Chris Harris. Amazing to even stay on the bike, to control it going into turn 3 again. Hans Andersen straight out there. He's right on the groove. He's not going to give that one up easy.
No, Andersen needs a good result here tonight to bolster his chances of finishing in the top 8 and qualifying automatically for the 2010 SGP Series. series. He's opening up quite a lead now in the latter stages of this race. Sayfutdinov in blue is going to put Harris under pressure. Harris wide, Sayfutdinov up the inside. Can Harris hang on here? 1 lap to go. Anderson looking good. Harris holding the inside line. Sayfutdinov trying absolutely everything. Closes the gap on Chris Harris. He's got a point at the moment, Sayfutdinov, but he could do with more in the battle for the world title. But Hans Andersen takes the victory here and now down for second spot. He was very, very tight, but Chris Harris has just about done enough there. Hans Andersen, the race winner then from Denmark. Second place was Chris Harris, who worked overtime to keep Emil Sayfutdinov third, and Guglielmo Franchetti, the wild card, trailing at the back. Sayfutdinov, how on earth did he complete the race with spokes like that? His prayers have been answered.
Yeah, it's a miracle that he finished that. I tell you what, if that would have come apart, it would have been a really horrendous crash.
7 points out of a possible 9. Heat number 10, and Greg Hancock needed a good result after managing just 2 points from his opening 2 rides, and he responded in style with a fine start. A real battle between Freddie Lindgren in blue and Nicky Pedersen, the outgoing world champion in the white helmet colour, and trailing at the back was Lee Adams. But he managed to pass Pedersen in a smart move. Andreas Jonsson was top scorer before this heat on 4 points between these riders. But Gregor Valacek made a good start from the inside line, the man who qualified via the GP Challenge last year on his way to victory. Rune Holter needs points, 5 points so far, and he's got a battle for the top 8 for next season's qualification. Jason Crump out here in the white helmet colour then. Seb Ulemek off the inside. Scott Nichols goes off gate 2 in blue, 1 point so far. Crump is off gate 3 in white in agony. And Thomas Gollum is going off the outside in yellow. Gollum still with high hopes of the rostrum. Jason's wife Mel watching on nervously.
Yeah, another one holding on for that one, doing some prayers for Jason. He's got a tough job with Thomas Gollum just outside of him, determined to win this race.
Crump in agony then, hasn't made the start. There's a real battle here with Gollum in yellow and Scotty Nichols in the blue helmet colour. Crump comes into third place now ahead of Sebastian Ulemek. Every point can be precious for the Australian. Gollum has the lead though, a determined ride from the pole. Nichols now under a bit of pressure from Jason Crump, and Jason Crump is showing great determination here for a man who has such a serious arm injury. He's hanging on and he's passed Nichols superbly.
Yeah, right through the pain barrier. That is difficult to do out there, right on that blue groove. The back tire's hooking up, and he's just trying to keep the pace with Thomas Gollum.
Every point gained is a bonus for Jason Crump tonight, because this is a man who we thought was going to pull out of the meeting. In practice, certainly it looked as though he had little chance of competing tonight. But Crump is in second place and on his way to 2 points, which could prove precious in the battle for the world title. Gollum has the lead, looking superb. And second place is Jason Crump. Third place is Scott Nichols, with Seb Ulemek trailing at the back. Gollum looks over his shoulder in the latter stages of heat number 12. This is a fine result for Jason Crump. He'll be delighted with 2 points. Gollum gets the victory, and Gollum now on 9 points, and relief in the Crump pits as his pit crew and his wife Mel breathe a sigh of relief. Gollum the race winner. Jason Crump was in second place there. Third was Scotty Nichols, and trailing at the back was Sebastian Ulemek. A vital second place for Jason Crump, who is still in severe, severe pain.
Yeah, the guy can't even take his own helmet off. He's got his wife next to him to help out, and it's really difficult for him. I'm sure he doesn't want to be there, but it's a world championship.
Yep, Thomas Gollum unbeaten so far. Brilliant performance from him. The rest of the boys will be wondering whether Jason will continue in this meeting, though. Gollum 9 out of 9, with Anderson, Sayfutdinov and Harris on 7 so far. Crump just outside the top 8. He'll be happy with 4 points so far, but will we see him continue in the meeting? Disturbing shots here of Jason Crump possibly going out of the meeting, we wonder. Heading back to the dressing room, is he? Sayfutdinov was watching on there. Will we see Crump ride again tonight?
Chris Harris, 7 very big points at the halfway mark.
Yeah, it's been going good so far. Bikes feel good. I'm feeling happy out there. No pressure on me this Grand Prix, so just kind of enjoying it.
And you nipped past the young Russian boy quite nicely on the inside in that last one.
Yeah, first time I've done that. But, got lucky, he left a big hole and I went through it, and he ran at the back of me a bit, but luckily nobody come down and the race got finished. So yeah, it was 2 points I needed extra.
2 points extra for Chris Harris, but the real concern is for this man, Jason Crump, the series leader. Heading back to his van, is he heading out of the meeting? Will he take his 4th ride in the Italian Grand Prix? We'll find out after the break. Welcome back to the FIM Italian Speedway Grand Prix in Terranzano, the venue for this particular round of the World Championship for the first time ever, and it's been a big success so far. Great atmosphere and exciting racing to boot. Heat 13 is coming up. Kenneth Pierre, we've seen him in finals. Greg Hancock, the 1997 world champion, looking for points here to book a semi-final place. Gollum unbeaten so far, he's off the inside. Hancock is off gate 2. Kenneth Pierre off gate 3. He needs points in this one. And Chris Harris going well so far. He's off the outside in yellow.
Yeah, he sure is going well. 7 points, and that's a good meeting for him. Look at Jason Crump still holding his arm, coming back to the pits. That's really good to see. He's going to go out there and keep going. But now down to the business side of things. Heat 13, Thomas Gollum on the inside.
Can Gollum keep up his maximum momentum here in Heat 13? Gollum is the man on the inside then, but look at that from Harris in yellow, superb. Gollum, though, holds the line magnificently. He could have caved in there under pressure from Chris Harris, but Gollum was magnificent in that first turn. Harris holds 2nd place right now, with Kenneth Pierre coming under pressure from Greg Hancock for 3rd place. Harris has lost a bit of ground as well. Gollum, it has to be said, is looking at his very, very best here.
Yeah, it's a track that doesn't got a heck of a lot of grip. He's pulling away from Chris Harris. I thought Chris did a good job to get 2nd position coming out of turn 2, and look at Kenneth trying desperately to put the pressure on him.
Yeah, it's a magnificent ride from Gollum. He has gone here. He is well and truly clear. Chris Harris, though, in the yellow helmet colour, has had a stuttering season so far. But here we see Kenneth Pierre. Where on earth has he found this momentum from? What a ride from Kenneth Pierre. Hasn't quite got the drive to get the better of Chris Harris, but it's a magnificent effort, the way he breezed past Greg Hancock there, and now putting pressure on Harris there.
Yeah, I seen that coming, Nigel. He was working it. He's still trying to do it, but Chris is not giving up that line easy.
Gollum looking stylish as ever, and Pierre going around the outside. It's going to be a tight call for 2nd spot, and to the line they go, and Chris Harris just about hangs on him there, but that again was fantastic speedway, and there's the result. Gollum the race winner then. 2nd place was Chris Harris, 3rd was Kenneth Pierre, Hancock at the back, and Gollum is now on 12 points out of a possible 12. Magnificent performance from Thomas Gollum.
Sure is. When you're coming off the inside there, you have to do a lot of work. You got to go off real quick, put your back wheel on that blue groove. Look at Harris trying to squeeze in between both Kenneth Pierre and Thomas, and does a good job doing that. Now the race is on. Here's another view of the start. Greg messes it all up, and he just kind of has to compose himself to try and get something, but he resorted to getting last place in this race. But look at Thomas pulling away coming off turn 2.
Yeah, brilliant ride from Thomas Gollum, who still has an outside chance of becoming world champion this season if results go his way. And remember, the final round in Big Gosh could play into his hands. He'll be a happy man right now. Heat 14, will the action continue to be fast and furious? What a lineup it is, with Lee Adams going in red off the inside gate, needing points. Jason Crump watching on nervously and no doubt still in pain. He's got side footing off in his next race. Adams off the inside. Ulemek goes off gate 2 in blue. Gregor Valacek gate 3 in white, and Hans Andersen 7 points so far, looking for points here again to book a place in the semi-final. Lee Adams, well, it's just not been his year this year, but Anderson desperate for a place in the top 8. He's gone well so far, 7 out of 9. Who will emerge from the pack in that first turn of heat number 14? It's an even spread early on, with the man in blue, Sebastian Ulemek, looking good here. Anderson is at the back, but my word, he's spotted a gap there and has gone through the middle of 2 riders there. They are Greg Valacek and Lee Adams, and Anderson still working hard. The lead, though, is with Ulemek in blue. Have we got a race on here or what, Sam Amalenko?
We sure do. Hans built up so much momentum going into turn 3. He actually almost ran right into the back of Sebastian Ulemek going into there, but look at him go, and he's going real wide once again to build the momentum.
Hans Andersen dares to go where others don't. He's out in the high drive of the dirt there on that 3rd and 4th turn. He's still going high and wide. Will he work work for him here. Will he get the drive? He's under pressure 1 minute from Valacek, and look how much pressure now. He's putting on the leader, Sebastian Ulemek. This is a monumental effort from the Great Dane, Hans Andersen. Oh, he's had to shut off there. His route was blocked. This is sensational, Speedway.
I can't believe what I'm seeing here. He's risking everything by being so wide, but look, he's done it. Unbelievable move. Ulemek should have went wide, but he didn't, and look what's happening. Hans Andersen wins it.
And he looks over his shoulder and punches the air with delight. He moves on to 10 points. He's in the semi-finals. But he deserves extra points for that ride. That was simply out of this world. Hans Andersen of Denmark, a fantastic victory in heat number 14. Valacek was second there. Third place was with a long-time leader, Seb Ulemek, and Lee Adams was at the back. And we need to just take a deep breath, I think, because that was simply stunning.
Yeah, I wonder if Crumpy's going to have that kind of an event in his next race. But let's just look at this one more time. On the inside, we can just see the fact that Lee Adams messes up the inside gate totally. But Sebastian Ulemek made no mistake of getting his back wheel right on that dark part of the racetrack where you're going to get extra drive. But just look at Hans having to back off right now and goes completely wide. But then he composes himself once again, and he chases down Ulemek, and Ulemek folds by the end of the race. And it was just tremendous effort from Hans Andersen to just keep working every inch of the racetrack.
Yeah, brilliant ride. One of the best rides we've seen all season in the SGP series from Hans Andersen in that yellow helmet colour, and still has a lot of work to do to book his place in the 2010 Grand Prix series. But look what it means to him. He's playing to the crowd, celebrating in style, and quite right too. Hans Andersen then on 10 points here, 2 behind the maximum man, Thomas Gollum. Harris is on 9. He's in the semi-finals as we build up to a massive heat 15.
Looking at that last heat, there was a very exciting last lap, but it was pretty good 4 laps in total.
Yeah, I felt I had a lot more speed than Sebastian out in front, but I didn't really want to dive bomb him because I didn't want to risk either hitting him or no, coming off myself. So I just keep winding it on the outside, and he's finally left a gap, and I went.
Well, nerves and tension in the Crump corner of the pits. Can he score some more points? He's here to just get as many points as he can on a damage limitation exercise, the injured Australian. Here's the lineup. Saifudinov, his nearest rival for the world title, off the inside. Jonsson off 2. Crump is off 3 on 4 points so far. Fredrik Lindgren needs points. He wants to be in the top 8 to qualify for next year, and going off the outside. Crump in agony. We thought at one stage during the interval there he may be pulling out of the meeting. Certainly after practice yesterday it looked as though it was all over for Crump, but he's got 4 points to his name, and he'll be looking for more here in heat number 15. But it's a tough lineup. He's off gate number 3. It's going to be hard. It's going to be ruthless. He's made a decent start now. Can Crump hit the front? No, he's just been past there and he's got to the back. And is he up for a fight with the pain of that arm injury? We wonder. The lead here is with Andreas Jonsson, and Crump now looks as though he could be on the verge of slipping to the back with Saifudinov, putting severe pressure on him. Lindgren going wide in second place, and here is Saifudinov up the inside, and Crump is running out of steam, Sam.
Yeah, he sure is. He just kind of let the door wide open, and Saifudinov didn't need a second chance for that one. He took it. Saifudinov going really wide, trying to build up the momentum. I'm sure he was watching Hans Andersen. Look at Crumpy come right back by him. The race is still on.
Maybe he's not run out of steam. Every point could be precious here, with Jason Crump working overtime to keep Emil Saifudinov at bay. And even if Crump does finish last here, it won't be the end of the world for him, because Saifudinov has got to win races. He's well behind. He's got to pick up more points than just the one in this race. So Crump is fighting for that world title. Wheel to wheel down the back straight. Saifudinov has finally got the better of him. This is a brave effort by Jason Crump. And although it looks as though he's going to finish last, Jonsson taking the victory. Second place Lindgren. But that was a hard-fought race, and although Crump finishes last, significantly, Saifudinov only manages a point. Jonsson the race winner then. Second place was Fredrik Lindgren. Third was Emil Saifudinov, and trailing at the back was Jason Crump. So Saifudinov only gains a point on that man, and Crump now will go back to the pits area and suffer more pain, no doubt. But know that even though he didn't score, it was a damage limitation race.
Yeah, Andreas Jonsson coming in there in the blue helmet just makes a good start. hits the groove right now and launches himself forward. Look at Jason sitting there, setting himself up, thinking about going into turn 3, and he goes a little bit too wide. And as the race continues, we can just see the effort that he's putting into it, as you were mentioning, Nigel. But Saifutinov comes underneath him and then stretches it out and follows him in for 3rd place.
Well, that serious arm injury quite clearly causing Jason Crump severe pain. And after 15 heats now, Thomas Gollum, Hans Andersen, Chris Harris all certain to be in the semi-finals. Jonsson looking good with Valacek and Saifutinov. Crump now, realistically, is up against it for a semi-final spot because of his injuries. Heat number 16, and Nicky Pedersen needed the points to try and bolster his chances of a semi-final place. And he made no mistake with a fine ride as Rune Holter lost shape, but managed to hang on to his machine. Pedersen picked up 3 precious points to move on to 5. And with a win in his last ride, that would give him a great chance of qualifying for the semi-finals. Every rider has now completed 4 rides. Gollum a clear leader on 12 with Andersen. Harris in the semi-finals. Jonsson, Valacek, Saifutinov looking good, but it's very tight for the top 8. Nicky Pedersen and Greg Hancock, both world champions, just outside. And Jason Crump out in the next race, heat number 17. Welcome back to our coverage of the FIM Italian Speedway Grand Prix in Terranzano. And a big race coming up. Jason Crump, the series leader, watched on nervously by his nearest rival, Emil Saifutinov. Crump, we remind you, riding through the pain barrier here. He's got 4 points from 4 rides, and he could do with another couple perhaps here in heat number 17. Harris off the inside, he's already a semi-finalist. Gregor Valacek off gate 2. Nicky Pedersen needs points here to get into the semi-finals. And Crump is off the outside. Saifutinov talking to Hans Andersen. They share the same engine tuner these days, Ashley Holloway. But Jason Crump, the big question is how many points can he get here? It's a damage limitation exercise. He really is showing great courage and determination, Jason Crump. Off that outside, every time the bike moves, he's really in agony. And he's at the back at the moment with Gregor Valacek holding the lead. 2nd place Harris, and now Crump coming up the inside of Nicky Pedersen. But there's no room for him there. Pedersen holds 3rd spot. Crump is at the back, and unless anything dramatic changes where Jason Crump is concerned, it looks like he's going home with 4 World Championship points tonight.
Yeah, it's all about Nicky Pedersen at this stage because Nicky needs the points as well. Chris Harris, as you said, has already kind of wrapped it up, possibly going straight through. But it's Nicky Pedersen now that's desperately trying to get there.
Yeah, fine ride from the man in the blue helmet, Gregor Valacek. Qualified for the SGP Series through the 2008 Grand Prix Challenge. 2nd place right now in the red helmet, Chris Harris. He's on 9 points so far. This would take him to 11 to go into the semi-finals in a handy position. But don't rule out Nicky Pedersen here.
Yeah, he's still got a chance, but it's a long chance. Look at Chris slowing up just a little bit. If he gets off that groove, Nicky will want to bite. Nicky's now getting closer. He's got some extra drive there as we look at Valacek.
Valacek looking very, very impressive up front, and a pass from Pedersen. Now 2nd place could give him half a chance of the semi-finals. Crump's closing in at the back as well, but ultimately Jason Crump's night is over with 4 points. Valacek the race winner. That was a brilliant 2nd place from Nicky Pedersen, who waited his moment to get the better of Chris Harris. 2nd place for Pedersen, then 3rd Chris Harris, and trailing at the back was the very, very brave Jason Crump. 4 points he finishes on, and he will be eager to get back home and rest up.
That's right, and when we see the replay of this one, you can just see coming out of the start that is Valacek desperately trying to get over the top of Chris Harris. Chris Harris throws his elbow up and says, no way. Nicky's on the outside here, and you can just tell that Nicky's frustrated just as well. He can't get the grip he needs. Harris now is trying to track down Valacek, but Valacek takes a really good lead in the first couple laps. But just look at Jason Crump from the outside here, going into the corner. He just does not want to play with these guys at the moment, just trying to tuck in behind him to see if he can get any points. And as it continues on, that's just the way it is. Bad luck for this guy.
Yeah, he needs some rest now, quite clearly, Jason Crump. He's in agony there. His pit crew, including Finn Jensen, his engine tuner, who's done a great job for him this season, really just being very, very careful. And he now is going to need 3 weeks rest. There's no doubt about that before the next Grand Prix. So, Thomas Gollum, 12 points so far for him, maximum man. Valacek through to the semi-finals, so is Anderson, so is Harris. We know 4 of the 8 semi-finalists now. Jonsson and Saifudinov looking good. And coming up in heat number 18, Emil Saifudinov is out here. Well, Saifudinov made a good start and went on to complete the victory over Thomas Gollum, who was beaten for the first time on the night. Saifudinov going into the semi-finals then in a handy position on 11, but Thomas Gollum getting first pick for Gates by virtue of the fact that his second place put him on 14. Relief for Saifudinov, continuing to put pressure on Crump at the top of the World Championship standings. Gollum and Saifudinov heading through to the semi-finals, and they are in the top 3 of the World Championship right now, of course. Valacek, Anderson and Harris all in there. Nicky Pedersen will have to wait to find out whether he has done enough on 7, and Crump's 4 points could be vital. Heat 19 it is then, every race vital now, with Andreas Jonsson off the inside in red and Greg Hancock going off gate 2 in blue. Seb Ulemek won't make the semi-finals, he's off gate 3 in white, and Guglielmo Franchetti, the wild card, going off the outside. Jonsson looking good on 8, he's surely set fair for a top 8 place and automatic qualification for next year. Greg Hancock, though, needing points for a semi-final spot here.
So far, this is a bad meeting for Greg Hancock. He's normally way higher up the board now.
Heat 19 it is then, and Jonsson has made an absolutely superb start from the inside, but they're all bunched up. Coming out of turn number 2, look how close they are, and Franchetti, the wild card, is really proving to be a spoiler in this race. Jonsson the leader, with Franchetti in second and Ulemek third. Greg Hancock is at the back, and if it stays like this, Hancock will fail to make the semi-finals.
Yeah, I'll second that spoiler action there. Look at this right here. We got Sebastian Ulemek putting the pressure on, and Greg goes around the outside. What a great move. Does he get a chance to power right around him? It's going to be a tall order, but he's going for one more turn.
Yeah, well, he's already passed Ulemek, and now he's going to try and pass Franchetti, but he really needs the win, which seems unlikely, because as it stands, Greg Hancock will not make the semi-finals with even second place. Pedersen would be above him there on the countback system, finishing level on 7 points apiece, and here he comes. It's a 5 move all the same, but the battle, remember, is still very much on for a rostrum spot in the World Championship. Hancock wants to be there. This man is looking very, very smooth, and look at the margin of victory here for Andreas Jonsson in the red helmet, on his way to the semi-finals on 11 impressive points. Fine speedway again in this Italian Grand Prix. Hancock working hard. Guglielmo Franchetti can feel proud of his efforts there in his own country. Andreas Jonsson the winner. Greg Hancock was second then. Third place went to Guglielmo Franchetti, and trailing at the back was Sebastian Ulemek. Good speedway all the way.
Greg Hancock desperately trying to get out of the start, but he cuts back underneath Andreas Jonsson there. He's hoping that he's going to make a mistake, but you can see Ulemek there putting the pressure on him. And on the outside is Franchetti trying to get there, use his home track knowledge. He works the track as best as he can, but ends up only getting 1 point out of it. Ulemek moves him offline. Hancock squeezes back up the inside, and at the end of it all, it's Hancock that pulls off second place.
Yeah, it was good speedway again in Heat 19. Hancock knows that his night will probably be over now. On the countback system, he won't make the semi-finals, which will be a major disappointment for Greg. Confirmation as we see the latest standings there. The battle for 8th place on the night. Pedersen just above Hancock, and Pedersen needs a semi-final spot tonight to enhance his chances of qualification automatically for next year's series. Now, a big race coming up in Heat number 20, with 3 riders all chasing a top 8 finish at the end of this season, an automatic qualification for next year's SGP series. There's one of them, Kenneth Pierre, wants to finish in that top 8. So does that man, the outgoing world champion, Nicky Pedersen. Hans Andersen in the mix as well. The inside 3 riders here all need points towards qualifying for next year. Lindgren off the inside in red. Kenneth Pierre off gate 2 in blue. Hans Andersen gate 3 in white. 10 points tonight so far. And Scott Nichols is going off the outside in yellow. He won't finish in the top 8 this year, and therefore won't qualify automatically for next year's SGP series. but the other three, Sam, know that this race could be vital.
That's right, good call on that one. It's all about getting those points. Hans Andersen wants to be in the top at the end of this night, and he just doesn't quite get there, but the race is on.
Scott Nicholls, the man who's out of contention for qualification for next year, has pulled off a magnificent start. He has the lead, the Great Britain rider. Now the battle is on between the other three rivals. Lindgren pumps up the inside in red and gets the better of Andersen. Kenneth Pierre is level with Andersen. How close are they? You can throw a blanket over the four of them here, Sam.
Look how wide they're reaching for it. Hans is on the outside of this pile. He goes in there. Where's he going? Way offline. Look at Scotty on the groove, hooking up, pulling off this corner.
Yeah, Scott Nicholls looking superb here. And Andersen has been going wide because it worked for him earlier. But will it work for him this time as Lindgren dives up the inside? And now here comes Pierre. Lindgren was challenging for second, and now he's at the back. Nicholls has the lead. Here comes Pierre up the inside of Andersen. What a speedway race we got on our hands. One more lap to go. Nicholls holds the lead. Hans Andersen in second place. Third is Kenneth Pierre. Pierre would finish on 5 points. He would be in the semi-finals, but that point could be vital for next year, and he's still pushing it hard. Nicholls now takes the checkered flag. What a race with Andersen second, Pierre third, and Freddie Lindgren misses the chance of a semi-final spot by finishing last there. Brilliant race, heat number 20. Nicholls the race winner then. Hans Andersen was second. Third place went to Kenneth Pierre, and trailing at the back, Freddie Lindgren, who finishes the night on 6. Pierre finishes on 5. Andersen already in the semi-finals on an impressive 12 points.
What a racetrack. These guys are out there battling their guts out. Look at Hans just trying to squeeze to get on the inside. He goes into turn 3 and he starts to think about where he wants to be. He goes in the corner and he just tries to hold it down, but he drifts offline, opens the door, and there's Freddie Lindgren desperately trying to get up the inside to take advantage of him slipping offline. But Kenneth Pierre is behind them all thinking the same thing. He comes out underneath them. He gets a chance of getting there, but it's Freddie Lindgren that puts the pressure on Hans one more time. Hans then buckles it down and pulls it in there and pulls off that 2 points. Really critical to his campaign tonight.
Yeah, great ride from Nicholls. It's been a poor year by his standards, but he's finished tonight with a win. And here we see the top 8 qualifiers for the semi-finals now. Gollum, Andersen, Seifulinov, Valacek, Jonsson, Harris, Holter, and Nicky Pedersen. Edge is in there, which could be vital in the race for a top 8 place for next season. The gate stats then ahead of the semi-finals.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder. I don't really know what these gate stats really do for the guys when they're making their choices. Well, we can see right there, Gollum goes straight for the inside.
And Valacek taking gate 2. This is for the first semi-final. Harris going for the outside. Holter left with gate number 3. So Andersen choosing the outside gate. First of all, Seifulinov going for 2. Jonsson off the inside. And Nicky Pedersen is left with gate number 3. The semi-finals and the final are on the way in a few moments' time. Welcome back to our coverage of the FIM Italian Speedway Grand Prix held here in Terranzano for the first time, and I'm sure everyone will agree it's been a big success. There's a terrific atmosphere and the racing has been first class here. We're up to the first semi-final, and there's Chris Harris's pit crew pretty happy with life. It's a rare semi-final appearance for Bomber. Thomas Gollum goes off the inside in red, looking for a victory to enhance his chances of a podium finish this year. Valacek off 2. Rune Holter, he wants a result here to bolster his chances of a top 8 place at the end of the season. And Chris Harris going off the outside. 10 points so far for the British rider, but Gollum off the inside. It's all about Gollum in terms of the top 3, the podium, and maybe even the world title, who knows? As they go into the first turn, Gollum has made an absolutely superb start again. Valacek is second. Third place, Rune Holter. Holter trying to come round the outside, and Harris is still in contention. All very tight down the back straight. Holter now will try and pass Gregor Valacek, but here comes Chris Harris up the inside. A fine move by the British rider, but Gollum is in control of the race.
He sure is. Chris Harris has got 2 more laps to see if he can put the pressure on Greg and move him offline, but how critical was it to win the top scoring position position to get the inside. Gollum took advantage of that, and he's out in front.
Looking very smooth and very stylish, and he's still got an outside chance of the world title. In fact, with Jason Crump finishing on 4 points tonight, don't rule Gollum out altogether, because if he wins this and then wins the final on 6 points, then he will be 17 behind Jason Crump, with Big Gosh to come, his favourite track, his own backyard. Valacek second, third place Chris Harris, trailing at the back is Rune Holter, but Thomas Gollum is on his way to a fine victory. This will put him on 17 points tonight, so he can still technically finish on 23, which would be a colossal effort. Gollum on his way to victory. He is still on top form. Second Valacek, so it's going to be two Polish riders in the final, Thomas Gollum and Gregor Valacek. Great stuff from them. Confirmation of the semi-final result. Gollum the winner, second place Valacek. Third place there went to Chris Harris of Great Britain, and Rune Holter was trailing at the back. Remember, double points in the final. He can get 6 points in that, finish on 23, and really put pressure on Jason Crump.
Yeah, there was a lot of mixing up going into the first corner, but it was all about follow the leader, and it was Thomas Gollum that made the start, so he was the leader. Rune Holter desperately trying to get his wheels aligned to see if he can split the Polish duel, but there's no chance of that. Harris sneaks onto the inside. Another view of the start. Harris is trying to get over the top, but it all goes backwards for him, and he knows now he's got to cut back up the inside and follow these guys into turn 3, looking for the door to open, but it never did, and it was the Poles 1-2 that finished this race.
Yeah, another good semi-final there, but disappointment for Rune Holter, who finishes the night on 8 points. Second semi-final, and a big one for all 4 riders, but for Nicky Pedersen and Hans Andersen, it's all about getting more points to bolster their hopes of a top 8 finish and automatic spot for next year in the SGP. Andreas Jonsson goes off the inside, 11 points so far. Now, what can Cy Fudinov do to try and close the gap on the series leader Jason Crump here off gate 2? Pedersen off 3, Andersen off 4. Big race coming up.
I know what he can do. He needs to win the race, but he's got Nicky Pedersen in there, and he's not been doing that great tonight. He wants to make a final.
And it's a great start from Hans Andersen on the outside. Oh, it's all very tight in that first turn, and Nicky Pedersen has gone down. And once again, we see a race involving Nicky Pedersen and Emil Sayfudinov, and we've got drama in the extreme.
You've seen it. I'm watching it right now. Look at Nicky. He did make a great start, but it was Hans Andersen that actually cut across the corner, unsettled him, and Nicky was just in the domino effect, and on the ground he goes.
Pedersen hits the deck. Here we see it again. It's all very tight in that first turn. Is anybody at fault, or will it be all 4 back?
It'll be all 4. That just looked a little bit uncomfortable. Nicky was lucky that he didn't go over the high side big time. He slid it down on the ground, slides into the fence, nice and comfortable. I'm sure the referee will be looking at the fact that it's not his fault, and he's back in.
Confirmation then, all 4 riders, no disqualifications from that race as we go for the second semi-final. Second time of asking. It's all very tense and all very tight. The nerves are jangling at the start. Pedersen knows it's an important race for him. Sayfudinov wants points to really keep his title hopes alive here. Second semi-final, here we go again. And into the first turn, Nicky Pedersen has made an absolutely dream start in the white helmet colour. Jonsson is second, Sayfudinov is going to the back now. That'll be good news for Jason Crump. Andersen coming round into second. The lead there is with Nicky Pedersen. Hans Andersen second, it's a Danish 1-2. And Sayfudinov is in the back.
He holds on to that one. Keep that wheel down, buddy. You got second place. That's what it's all about. Nicky made a tremendous start, unbelievably out of gate 3. Cleans out going front. Hans now has got himself in a really good place. Look at the boys behind him desperately trying to make ground up.
Yes, Sayfudinov, we remind you, needs points to close that gap on Crump. If he doesn't make the final, it could mean a massive, massive boost for Jason Crump's world title hopes. Although Thomas Gollum is still to come, remember, in that final. Here we see Andreas Jonsson blocking out the challenge of Sayfudinov.
Oh, very, very close there. He almost clattered the back wheel. That would have been a big one but look at Saifullinov desperately trying to do something. He's running out of time.
Yeah, we're in the final lap, and look at Nicky Pedersen in control of this race superbly. Anderson holding out for second place. This could be a massive second spot for Hans Anderson, who is desperate to be in the SGP next year. And Emil Saifullinov has finished at the back, and that is a major boost for Jason Crump in the battle for the World Championship. Nicky Pedersen, the race winner then. He's in the final. So is Hans Anderson. Third place to Andreas Jonsson. And in last place, Emil Saifullinov gains 7 points on Crump tonight.
I wouldn't want to say who's going to come out of where, but if it's Thomas Gollum getting out of that inside gate like he did last time, and he chooses it once again.
And Nicky Pedersen going off gate 2. This for the final with Anderson off the outside and Valacek left with gate number 3. The grand final coming right up there. Can Thomas Gollum close the gap to Jason Crump on 17 points? Welcome back to our coverage of the FIM Italian Speedway Grand Prix in Terranzano. Going into Bydgoszcz, the last round of the World Championship. Nicky Pedersen needs points off gate 2 to bolster his chances of making the cut into the top 8 and an automatic spot for next year. Gregor Valacek gate 3, and outside Hans Anderson similarly has high hopes of a top 8 finish.
Yeah, he doesn't want to mess this one up. In the semi-final, he chose the outside gate again. He's got a second chance of doing it. Valacek's lucky to be in the race. The big boys are on the line.
Gollum has dropped just 1 point so far. He's off the inside gate here. Pedersen makes a good start, so does Anderson. Oh, it's all very tight, and Anderson sweeps across the outside. He's got the lead now. Gollum is second. Pedersen challenging Valacek for third spot. Can Gollum respond? He needs 6 points instead of 4 if he's to keep the world title hopes alive, really. Anderson almost hits the fence there. Here comes Gollum. He's winding it all on in second spot. He's going high and wide into the dirt. Has he got the drive? He looks well behind Anderson at the moment.
Where's he going? Up in that top corner. Hans made the start. He's out in front. But look at Gollum hunting him down.
Oh, here he comes! Get out of the way! I'm coming through, says Thomas Gollum. That was spectacular. Anderson doesn't know what's hit him. He's in second place. Nicky Pedersen third. Gregor Valacek at the back. And Thomas Gollum is about to get 6 massive Grand Prix points to his name to finish on 23 all told. 23 out of a possible 24. And you can't deny him that, because this race has been spectacular from Gollum, who will go to Bydgoszcz 17 points behind the series leader. He is second in the World Championship now after that victory.
What hope has he got now? Going on his home track, as you said, Nigel, he's looking forward to that. What a great race this guy just performed on.
Woo! Yeah, it really was sensational. Gollum with a brilliant ride. Hans Anderson will be pleased with 4 all told. Finishes on 18 tonight, with third place going to Nicky Pedersen and Gregor Valacek finishing at the back. Well, what a race this was.
Hans Anderson knew exactly what he wanted to do from that outside gate. It went straight around the outside of him, hooked up on the inside. Gollum's in second, the race is on. Valacek had half of a chance to get in there, but Nicky Pedersen just took care of that one. Look at Nicky almost making the start, trying to get over Thomas, but it didn't happen. And as the race continued, what a build-up this was. Thomas Gollum just put his motion into play. Look at him go straight in there, right up the inside of Hans. Hans thought, what the heck have I done wrong here? Looking to see if he can actually hold on to second, and that's all he's got out of this one.
Well, that was a typical Thomas Gollum ride. Absolutely spectacular.
Nicky Pedersen, that seemed like a lot of hard work for 12 points.
Absolutely. I mean, you can still see I can make the starts here and there some places, you know, but I have to admit, you know, I am really struggling on the slick tracks. It's we worked as much as we could, and we tried as many things as we could, and I think the team spirit, you know, that took me to the final today, because I wasn't the fastest one of the night.
18 points on the night for you, into the top 8. That's the big bonus from this one.
I want to be in a GP next season. You know, we made a lot of mistakes this year, and we know what we made, all the mistakes we made. So we learned a lot this year, and we just want to finish off on a high and come back even stronger next season.
Thomas Gollum, a fantastic win, 23 championship points.
Yeah, today is 1 point, it's no more. It's a very good day for me tonight. and a good track. Everything in the working team is perfect tonight. Thank you very much, my mechanic, and a good engine this meeting.
So the World Championship standings with 1 round to go. Jason Crump 17 points ahead of Tomasz Gollum and 19 ahead of Emil Sayfutdinov. So the top 3 looking set fair, and the battle for the top 8 is all very tight. Hans Andersen's points, 18 here in Italy, puts him into 8th spot now, but it's all very tight with Fredrik Lindgren on 88, Rune Holter on 85. So those two will be challenging in Bydgoszcz to finish in the top 8 and qualify automatically for next year's SGP Series. But the night belongs to Tomasz Gollum, who keeps the world